Christy Duffy for Smart Trend News. Johnson & Johnson reporting its second quarter earnings results before the opening bell this morning. Now to go over the numbers and discuss what's next for the healthcare products maker is Ben Yeoh from Atlantic Equities. Ben, thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
So, Ben, the company reported an EPS of $1.23. Revenue was $15.3 billion. The Street's average estimate for second quarter EPS was $1.21. Revenue $15.7 billion. Ben, what were your estimates for the second quarter?
My revenue estimate was also $15.7 billion. My EPS unadjusted was $1.23, but the adjusted EPS was also $1.21. So actually, when you refer to the company reporting an EPS of $1.23, it actually reported an adjusted EPS of $1.21, which I think was more in line with consensus, because I think consensus estimates were generally looking at the adjusted figure.
So Johnson & Johnson is one of the world's most respected companies and the most diverse maker of healthcare products. However, they've been experiencing some problems with manufacturing. They've had problems at the plants, product recalls, citations from the FDA that surely must have affected the company this quarter. Would you say that this is an endemic problem?
Scrutiny by the FDA for the whole industry has increased over the last couple of years, and good manufacturing protocol is one of the areas that FDA has focused on. So I think in some way it's an industry-wide problem in terms of getting up to speed with good manufacturing protocol. In terms of Johnson & Johnson and this particular plant, I don't think there's going to be necessarily a spillover effect into other plants or other parts of its business. However, it did affect its business, and I think we're talking about an annualized amount of around about $600 million of sales which came from this plant, which won't be occurring this year. And I think when they do start to come back to Johnson & Johnson, which will probably be sometime in 2011, they won't all come back at once, so you will have also a slower ramp-up.
Right. Well, did the company mention anything on the conference call about how they plan to basically fix these problems going forward? I mean, they did set the standard, I guess you could say, for product recalls after somebody poisoned Tylenol's bottles back in 1982. So to see this coming from them, I mean, it's a big deal.
They didn't talk about sort of specifics in terms of what they were doing in terms of fixing it. They did talk about the generalities of the fact that they were fixing it and they were in dialogue with FDA and that they expected the plant to be online sometime back in 2011. And I don't see any reason at this point to not think that they won't come through with that.
So the layoffs at their McNeil Consumer Healthcare unit, there's about 300, 400 people laid off at that Pennsylvania factory where most of the product recalls came from. That's directly related to the product defects, correct?
There was a little bit of commentary around that, I believe, but senior management didn't go into details about how there would be management changes or how exactly things were being managed at the plant. If only just to say that they were being managed and they would expect into 2011 things to get better.
Some analysts are saying that the CEO of the company should resign, Bill Weldon. Do you think that management should step down in your view after all these recalls?
Considering that it's just one plant and that the size of the business is $600 million out of a base of around $63 billion, I wouldn't have said that this was a sort of resignation issue. A lot of other industry players have had problems, and in fact I think all the large pharma problems have had something occur in the last 5 years. Having said that, it's obviously a negative, which not only affects reputation because this is in the consumer healthcare side of the unit, but does suggest that management are taking their eyes off their ball in what in terms of manufacturing is a core part of their business, and it would be good to see that increased vigilance on this part will occur in the future.
Did they mention anything about SEDASYS on the call, the computer-assisted anesthesia system that was rejected by the FDA, I believe, in April? Was that product mentioned or any other products in the pipeline for the upcoming quarter?
That particular project wasn't mentioned. It would be a very small part of J&J's business and probably not the kind of size of project that they would normally comment on publicly. But there was a couple of references to telaprevir, which is their new possible hepatitis C drug coming up, where they are expecting to have data coming out in the second half of the year. There was also a mention of Xarelto, which is a drug for clotting and atrial fibrillation, and they did suggest that they were going to show data from that also by the end of the year, but they said they had not decided what the venue would be. They also said that they do expect that to file in 2010 as well, which is in line with our current expectations.
Okay, now looking at J&J stock, over the course of the past 3 months, the stock has hit its lowest lows of the year. Most notably in early June, the stock hit about the $57 to $58 range. It closed out the trading day yesterday at $59.57. What's your recommendation for the stock?
Well, we are overweight the stock, and although it has underperformed the S&P 500 this year, it has actually slightly outperformed the S&P 500 Healthcare Index. We do believe that the demographics that J&J play in, which is the healthcare demographics, should be able to power a top line which is in the sort of mid-single-digit range, and that with a little bit of leverage, that should be able to get to high single-digit EPS, potentially augmented by some M&A acquisitions as well. When you add that also into the fact that their dividend yield is around about 3.5%, and they're also probably going to use about a third of their spare cash flow for share buybacks, then I think it's the kind of stock which, at least on an absolute basis, could give you double-digit returns, and I think that's going to look pretty reasonable value going forward on a longer-term basis.
Ben, thank you so much. You were pretty much right on target for your second quarter estimates. What do you project for the third quarter? Do you have your EPS and revenue estimates?
I don't have them to hand at the moment, and we're sort of going through the motions of trying to absorb what they've said in terms of the second half guidance, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that for you.
All right, well, we're looking forward to hearing from you on the third quarter as time goes on. And thank you so much for speaking with us and sharing your insight with us today, Ben. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm Christy Duffy for Smart Trend News. For more news and market analysis and earnings updates, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. That's Trade the Trend. Also, check our website, tradethetrend.com, for more financial headlines.